So I'm really excited about this episode titled How to Utilize Online Marketing to Increase Your Sales Performance. We have brought together a powerhouse of guests, three of the most influential marketeers and personal branding experts. So it's a credit and really thank you guys for joining us and adding value to this series. If you want to know about personal branding or how to use online marketing to increase your sales performance, then you are definitely in the right place. Before I introduce the speakers, just want to make this session as interactive as we can. So if you've got any questions, then please do ask. You will see that there is a Q&A. Please ask your questions away, and I will do my best to get them answered either during or at the end of the session. Looks like Hishem's already firing away in the chat, mate. So I could just get you to run that part. That'd be brilliant. In terms of our guests and the speakers that we've got, I'm pretty sure that you guys will know of these gents already. But if you don't, I am going to ask you to introduce yourself. And I'm going to come to you first, Hishem. It's really good to have you on the other side today.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to it.
Yeah, it'd be great if you could let the guys know a bit more about yourself, the company, and what you do.
Yeah, no, cool, thanks. Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, Neil. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, just really quickly, obviously my name's Hishem Azzouz, founder of Azzouz Branding, and also host a podcast called The Recruitment Rollercoaster. And Azzouz Branding, it's a really simple training and coaching business where I work with exclusively work with recruiters, either one-on-one or with groups of recruiters, on helping them successfully build their brand online, typically LinkedIn, so they can reach more people, they can help more of the right people, impact more lives, and most importantly, make more money. And that's what I've been doing for the last year. But big thanks for having me on now.
No, pleasure. Absolutely brilliant. Thanks for joining us. Dan, over to Portsmouth next.
Down to Portsmouth, yeah. My name's Dan Disney, author of the £1 Million LinkedIn Message, founder of The Daily Sales. My passion is helping salespeople leverage social selling and LinkedIn to its full potential as a sales tool. So I'm excited today to dig into the world of personal branding, because that's such a key part. And I would say the majority of salespeople aren't leveraging it. So it's going to be good to dig into that today.
Brilliant. It's brilliant to have you with us, Dan. Thanks for giving us the time. And finally, to sunny Manchester, Sam.
First day, it's not been sunny in a while. Yeah, thanks for having me, mate. I'm Sam Jones. I'm the managing director of Tunafish Media. We're Manchester-based advertising agency. Work with a range of brands, big and small, from Uber through to little startups. I wish I'd had my branding like Dan behind me, but I've just got Eric Cantona, unfortunately. So I'm gonna have to deal with that. Like,
there's nothing better to have than the king, though, to be honest. We're both in agreement that Sir Eric should definitely be on there.
He's got an extremely long neck in that picture. Is that me? No, yeah, he definitely has.
Yeah.
Who's actually next to Eric?
So that's from a Wes Anderson film that I love, basically.
Right.
It's not
there we go. So I was going to say, two random people to go together on the wall. What else would we expect from you, mate? That's brilliant. Okay, cool. So we're going to go straight into the questions. Like I mentioned, if you're listening, please fire away with any questions that you've got. There's a great opportunity for the next hour of your life to get the most out of our free guests. What I did notice before doing this is, even on LinkedIn alone, the guys between have got over 100,000 connections and followers. So pretty impressive, I'm sure you'd agree. So the first thing that we're going to kick off with is, what does a strong personal brand look like? It's a question that we get asked quite a bit, and I think it's quite a variety of answers we could get to this. So we're going to come to our experts. Hishem, if you don't mind kicking us off with that question, what does a strong personal brand look like?
Yeah, sure. So I think for me, I'm all about keeping it simple and not overcomplicating things. So what comes up for me when you say strong personal brand, for me, if your brand is giving you more opportunities per week to get on the phone and speak to more of the right people that you can help, that's a strong personal brand. If your brand is giving you more opportunities to message and reach out to more people on LinkedIn that you can help, that maybe you wouldn't have known previously if you weren't sharing content. And also, if your brand is giving you inbound opportunities, if you're getting more of the right people reaching out to you, saying, hey, enjoying your content, like what you do, blah, blah, blah. What do you do at Prime and can you help me? If you're also getting more of that, then that's a strong personal brand. And I think to tie that all together, if that means that you're consistently showing up and sharing content and appearing in front of the right people, then yeah, that's what comes up for me, to not overcomplicate it. That's what I think makes a strong personal brand.
Cool. Dan, anything you'd add to that?
Well, I fully echo what Hishem said. The only thing I'd add to it is ultimately your personal brand is defined by what your prospects and customers think of you. So what their perception of you is. And exactly what Hishem says, your personal brand done right should be generating you opportunities, should help you accelerate through existing opportunities, should help you enhance when you go out and create outbound opportunities. It's a tool that works for you, but what defines it is essentially what your prospects and customers think of you. There are a lot of influencers that build these huge audiences and, you know, claim to have a big personal brand, but when it comes to trying to sell something to them, they're not interested in buying. So you got to judge it by the impact that you can have on the audience that you build up. But yeah, fully echoing what Hishem said perfectly.
Cool. Sam, not talking about Eric Cantona's brand.
Yeah.
What
a personal brand he's got, though.
He's got an awesome brand.
What a personal brand he's got.
Absolutely.
I think for me, both Hishem and Dan have touched on it, is opportunity is the key word. Is your personal brand creating your opportunities? You can, Dan just touched on influencers, where there's influencers with massive audiences that can't sell anything. I think for me, the key is authenticity. Is this person being themselves? I think you can usually, especially with the sort of bigger influencers that have been mentioned, you can usually see through, especially the sponsored posts. So I think, like, just be yourself, and the opportunities will follow.
Yeah, I think what I just add is, firstly, look, obviously your mission with this changing the perception of sales, right? Everything that this is my opinion, everything that we're talking about today is not to replace sales. It's not a cold calling versus personal branding, marketing, whatever. It really isn't, and I couldn't disagree with that more. For me, it's about how your branding efforts can, basically, you can add that to your toolbox of skills to give you more opportunities to prospect and get more out of your prospecting opportunities. But I think also on the opportunities word, actually, I think for me, when you actually build your brand and you're a human being and you're a person, you actually also get opportunities that you don't plan for. We always talk about leads, we always talk about making money, but actually opportunities like coming on a webinar, being invited to speak at an industry event, going on a panel, getting the opportunity to mentor someone, wherever it may be, this actual opportunity, other opportunities that you don't plan for are actually also can be really impactful and great as well.
Cool. So moving that on then, how can you enhance your personal brand? So talking about what people can really do now to give themselves the best crack at getting their personal brand out there. Dan, if you wouldn't mind kicking us off.
Yeah, Hishem touched on it actually in his answer, and the key word is consistency. If you want to build a personal brand, you have to show up, and you have to show up consistently. I break it down into 3 key areas. You really need to have a strong profile. You need to have a profile that amplifies who you are and what you do and how you help. It's not a CV. It should be based around how you represent the industry. Then you've got to be sharing content on a consistent basis, ideally Monday to Friday, once a day, putting a post out there that's valuable, not advertising, not resharing other people's content, but sharing your own thoughts, knowledge, stories, experiences. And then the last component I like to throw in is engagement. So engage in other people's posts in the industry. So on a regular daily basis, your name is appearing all over the place. Your own content's going out. You're commenting really engaging, thought-provoking comments. Do that on a consistent basis, and you've got the roadmap for a personal brand. But consistency really is the key glue that holds it all together.
Cool. Consistency is key. You see that quite a lot, don't you, when someone starts? I think a lot with, at the moment, promoting video, for example. Put videos out there, and then maybe you do a video, and like me, I've been trying to do one a week, and then for 2 weeks I've not done one. I'm thinking, oh my word, I need to do a video. Then thinking, but I don't know what the hell to do a video on. So it becomes quite tough. So I completely I can understand that. Consistency is key if you're going to keep that brand going. Sam, what for you about yourself? How can you enhance your personal brand?
Yeah, I think that was the perfect answer from Dan there, to be honest. I think the only thing that I would add is it's not a quick fix at all. Like, we spend a lot of time with like CEOs and directors that want to enhance personal brand, but they expect results quickly. And it is you've got to turn up every day, basically. It is a long slog. And again, it shouldn't be a one-way street. It shouldn't be just someone, you putting content out, interact with other people, start those conversations like you would if you was in a bar and there was a person who was just talking about themselves over and over. You'd be bored senseless. Social media shouldn't be like that either.
Nice. I guess what I'd add to that is, obviously we're talking about enhance your personal brand. A lot of people know that they should enhance their brand and know that it's important, but are paralyzed by not knowing what to create content about. And you just said it there, Neil. That's the number one challenge that I get from recruiters that I work with, which is I have no idea what to create content about. I know it's important. Neil's telling me that I need to do it, but what the hell do I create content about? So what I'd encourage all of you to do, if you have that challenge, is ask yourself a really simple question, which is, what is the number one challenge your clients or candidates have right now? What's the number one thing keeping them up at night? If that's around hiring, if that's around achieving more of a diverse business, wherever it may be. But you need to understand the sort of common frustrations and headaches that your target audience have. And the reason why you need to do that is because that's going to help you understand what you should be creating content about. Because content that's going to cut through the noise is going to be content that's made to be relevant for your target audience. So I think for me, it's about ensuring that you're creating content with the target audience in mind. It's going to help you cut through the noise. It's going to help you enhance your personal brand. And then for me, yeah, obviously consistency is key, but for me, I'd say that even if you're posting once a week, that's a good position to be in. And the reason why I say that is because, trust me, like the fact that all of you are here is great. But honestly, you may think everyone's talking about this. You might have missed the boat. Neil's doing videos, so I don't want to do videos anymore. But honestly, 90% of people are doing fuck all. Like, honestly, like there's so many people doing nothing. So if you're doing one post a week, one post every 2 weeks, and you're giving value and you're obviously making content that's relevant to your target audience, you're going to be on the right path to enhancing your personal brand.
Do something. Just make
sure. Start. But that's the hardest part. Yeah. So, but even if
that I've jotted down in my note, Hishem, is the bit about think about what your challenges, your clients or your customers are having, and if you're talking about that, it's going to be more likely to drive engagement. And I think that's a real key question that people got, particularly now, right? Because it's so
I was on a webinar delivered by another webinar. I was on a webinar for that was hosted by LinkedIn. And it was around enhancing your personal brand and all that. I was interested to see how they communicated it, how they spoke about it, and see if I could learn anything. I've got a snapshot that I use in my training documents now, and one of the sort of infographics they shared was sort of why people engage with content on LinkedIn, right? And they did a huge survey on LinkedIn users on why they engage with content. 61% of people said it's content that's relevant. 62% of people said it's content that's informative and educational. You can achieve both those things every single time with your content. And they were the two most popular reasons as to why they engage with content. So again, making it simple. Are you sharing content that's relevant for the people that it's intended for? And is it informative and educational? You could do that, definitely.
Brilliant. Sam, I'm going to come to you first on this. I know you do hell of a lot of work with companies as well, helping them from a branding element. So obviously you can answer this twofold, personally or through the work you do with companies. But how can people utilize online marketing to increase sales? And the reason why I've put that, or we put that at the end, increase sales, there's a hell of a lot of marketing that sometimes can be done that doesn't bring that return on investment. What can people or companies be doing to really try and increase it through online marketing?
Yeah, I think one of the issues we see with a lot of people is in the follow-up. Really, they start in the initial conversation, but they're not following that up with a call or with a meeting. I think people kind of think they've won the race halfway through just because they've had that sort of engagement. If there's a sale that needs to be made, you've still got to go back to your traditional techniques of following that up. And we see that all the time, like people don't really, or they've not give thought to sort of the sales funnel from a sort of social media perspective. So like, I think, and then from a company side, like businesses are basically a sum of the parts, aren't they? So like everyone's personal brand is sort of moving towards the same place, and we struggle with, especially the larger businesses, when there's so many people involved, is the consistency with the messaging across. It becomes jumbled. So like, if there's 10 of you in a business, you should probably sit down together and talk about what you want to achieve as a group from your personal brands, and then kind of work out a joint plan as well.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Dan, what can we be doing to utilize online marketing to increase our sales?
So, I mean, tying into the whole personal branding, one of the best things that companies can do from a marketing perspective is support the sales team, not just the sales team, but everyone in the company with their personal brands. Some of the best companies right now, they create this amazing sort of bit of uniformity on social, but then they have their individual sales reps, SDRs, sales leaders building their own individual personal brands that becomes an amplifier. Most company pages on LinkedIn, you look at their content, you look at their engagement, it's poor. They're just resharing company content, advertising their products, sharing their testimonials. It's all about how great they are. But yet when you look at their staff that are creating personal brands, they're reaching so many more people. You know, there's a great example. One of my favorite examples is Gong. They're a call listening software based in America. And they've got SDRs now building these amazing personal brands. There's a lady called Sarah Brazier. She's built a huge personal brand. She's just an SDR at Gong, but she's sharing her insights, she's sharing her thoughts, and then Gong are able to benefit from that from a marketing perspective because of all the traffic it drives. So my biggest tip for companies and marketing departments is support the employees. It doesn't matter what position they're in. Everyone as an individual has a potential to build a personal brand, and there is more potential in that from a marketing perspective than just on your company pages across social channels. So that's where I'd probably encourage them to put a bit of a push on.
You think, Dan, that companies sometimes might be a little bit nervous about getting, you know, personal brands to become bigger than the brand, if that makes sense? Particularly in what we do, sales. You know, a good salesperson then can go and be a good salesperson maybe somewhere else. You know, so.
There's two fears that companies have. That is one of them, but probably more prevalent than that is they're scared of what their staff are going to say. So they're scared, oh, we're going to put them on LinkedIn. What if they say the wrong thing? What if they say something offensive? You know, and my answer to that is you still need to provide the right guidance, training, and put like you know, when you go bowling and you get those little buffers that come up the sides to make sure it doesn't go in the gutter. As a company, just provide those buffers, provide the support so they know what to do, what not to do, and guide them. You need to give them freedom, you need to encourage their creativity, but provide the support, be there to help ensure they don't sort of get into the gutters. With them building too big a personal brand, you can't stop it. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. Look after them. It's like saying, I'm not going to train our staff because if we train them to be too good, they're just going to leave us. But then you're going to end up with a load of subpar staff that can't perform. You need to support it, but provide resources, support, reward it, incentivize it so that they want to stay. I've seen people build personal brands in a company and still stay at that company for years. It's not some sort of sign they're definitely going to go off. So yeah, I would rather do it than not do it and just have a bunch of people that have no personal presence and my customers go to my competitors instead.
Yeah, I definitely don't. Just quickly, I definitely don't get that worried about what they're going to say thing, because how the hell can you trust them on the phone then? Like, like if they're on they can do more damage on that. And I think people really get confused that like it would take a lot to damage your brand. Like it would take so much to damage your brand. Like think how quickly we forget things. Tiger Woods, what do we think of him now? Prime example, or there's just so many examples. It takes so much to really sort of have a detrimental bad effect on your brand. But how can you trust your people to get on the phone, build relationships, make prospect calls or whatever? How can you trust them to do that and not to communicate online?
We had an example earlier this year of a law firm who we was doing a session with them, and they were actively encouraging their kind of partners to not be on Twitter because they didn't trust them to get involved with stuff that they shouldn't do. But if you can't trust them to send a tweet, you probably shouldn't hire them in the first place. Is my sort of view.
Yeah, there's a way bigger issue going on there, in my opinion. But I think just to add to what the guy said, how I've approached. So for me, I wouldn't say to companies like this: you shouldn't try and convince everyone. at the same time. It is my opinion. I don't know how your training works down and stuff like that, but for me, it's all about like, who can we identify together in your business that basically, one, already has influence in the business. So if I look up to Sam in my organization, and Sam all of a sudden goes from where he is now to not sharing or building, sort of using marketing, but to then building his brand, and we hear about the results and doing what he does well. If I already look up to Sam, well, I'm going to want a piece of that. And I respect Sam because I'm learning from him and he's above me or whatever. But also identify some people that could really be your internal champions and who would be open to this. Like, don't try and convince everyone at the same time. You like drive influence with people that hopefully can make your life a bit easier to do that, and start with pockets of people or teams to do that. I don't think you have to try and convince everyone.
Couple of questions that's I suppose nicely follows on the subject that we're on. Hish, I'll come to you first. What are the biggest mistakes people can make when it comes to content and personal brand?
Yeah, I'll just talk. Great question, Nicole. I think for me, I'll just keep it specific to recruiters, and I feel like we'll go over to sales as well. Is don't, like, people always feel like they have to sell. So like typical recruiter, for example, they might do a really good post, do something that's relevant and focused on their target audience, but at the end they'll say, and if you're looking for a job, call me. And it's just like, why? Like, why? I know you can, I know that's what I can do. I know I can reach out to you. And the reason why I think that's a real common mistake is because you're going to really limit the success with your content, because no one likes to be sold to. If I were to go through my content over the last 6 months, every time I've said, Neil, buy this online course, or I actually be really direct with, hey guys, I've got this, do you know, blah, 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 like a really salesy post, it never does as well. So I think one of the main mistakes is don't always feel like you have to sell, particularly if you're in sales or recruitment, because people know what you do. They just do. And your profile should easily communicate that. So don't always feel like you have to sell is what I'd say.
Dan, question for you. It's from Shannon. Is there a situation when something you post on LinkedIn can have a negative effect on your personal brand? If so, how can it be resolved or avoided?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very easy. You see a lot of people fall into traps where they say something that perhaps they shouldn't, and it could be an emotional response to something. It could be, you know, something's just had an impact on you and you're going to vent and anger and put frustration. You know, it's very easy to write negative, create negative content or write negative comments, almost trolling. So, you know, and there are tons of trolls out there on LinkedIn, and obviously that will have an impact on your personal brand. People will look at that. Some people will unfollow you because of it, because you say the wrong thing. That is how social media works. You put out something that offends someone, upsets someone, someone, you know, severely disagrees with, they will, you know, they will unfollow you. And some of them could be your prospects and customers. I think, you know, the beauty of social media is you can delete stuff. So if you put something out there, within a few minutes you think, do you know what, actually that wasn't the right thing to put out there, you can go and delete it. Obviously a percentage of your audience would have seen it, but not everyone. So there'll be minimal damage. You can minimize the negative impact. But I guess the best thing you can do to try and avoid it is, before you post something, just reread it. Maybe take a 5-minute break, come back and read through it again. If you have any questions around whether you should or shouldn't post it, either reread it yourself or maybe get someone close to you to have a look at it, email it to one of your colleagues, to the marketing department, and just say, thinking about posting this, you know, bit unsure about the tone or the subject. Can you just let me know what your thoughts are, just to play it safe? Where we're used to using social media personally, like our own Facebook, you know, pages, we tend to just say what we want because we can. It's usually our friends and family. We can just say whatever we want. When you then apply that to a professional area like LinkedIn, and where you're trying to build a personal brand for the, you know, benefit of business, you do have to be a little bit more cautious. You can't just go out there and say everything, because it's going to have an impact. So yeah, just think and check before you share something.
If I can just chip in quickly, I think, yeah, I mean, all I'd say is that you're definitely not going to please everyone online, and yeah, obviously we need to be smart here and just have a bit of common sense, but a real sort of good bit of advice that has helped a lot of my clients get over this, because the second biggest challenge I get is worried about other people's opinions and getting negative comments, and normally they say to me, I don't want to be buried online, which obviously isn't a nice thing, right? So what I say to my clients is, with your role and your intention with your content should be to facilitate conversations with your content. And what I mean by that is, instead of jumping online with your content and saying, I'm right, my opinion's right, and you're all wrong. And if you look at my content, I'm not that type of person. There are people online that approach you like that. It's really controversial and they want to start debates, and that's fine. That'll get seen by more people, but that means that it might be a bit more damaging, or obviously encourage that. So when I say facilitate conversations, when we're talking about creating content that's for your target audience around relevant topics, for me, I'd be telling you to say, with your content, this is what I'm hearing in the market. These are the common conversations that I'm having. This is what I'm noticing. This is what you're all telling me. What do you guys think? Start a discussion, pull it on back on your network. And that, what that will do is, if you're encouraging the discussion and people disagree with the discussion or what you have to say, that's okay, because they're just saying, Neil, really interesting point, but this is what I think of it. I don't agree with you. And that's not as bad as sort of you saying, I'm right, you're all wrong. That's what I'd add to that, which helps.
Definitely, thank you. Question for you. Do you feel that videos are being overshared on LinkedIn now just because of the sake of doing it?
I don't do much video. So for me personally, you want a combined approach, but if, again, I don't know what Dan and Sam you think, but for me, written posts get the most visibility, just written statuses. So maybe videos for the sake of it, but I think a lot of people think that you have to do video. If you don't, I think a lot of people may think that obviously video is going to get way more visibility, but in my opinion, over the last 3-6 months, what I'm seeing with my own content, that's not the case. What I always like to look at is that people that do get a lot of views or videos. Mark Gaisford, if you follow him and connect with him, have a look at how many people his videos are getting seen by. I guarantee they're not as much as they were 3 or 4 months ago. That's what I've definitely noticed. But yeah, I just think don't feel like you have to do video, and written posts are just as good, if not better.
What do you think, Tom?
I was going to say, find what you're comfortable with. So there are some people that gel to video better. They're creative with their videos, they're engaging with their videos. And I mean, there are people getting more views now than they have been over the last few months with their videos. It's what you are good at and what your audience associates with you. Some people gel well to videos, some people gel better to long form posts, some people gel better to articles or humor. You know, it's find your voice, which will come as you practice and get comfortable and, you know, consume more content. You'll find your voice. I didn't know what my voice was when I started using it. You get it as you go along, but you know, do what's best for you. And Hishem kind of alluded to it. Variety is key. Some people just pump out videos every day and they get low engagement. Some people put one video out a week, but its quality is high, it's the right tone for the audience, and it generates good engagement. Some people might do a post on a Monday, a video on a Wednesday, maybe something humorous on a Friday. You know, find a pattern that works for you. All forms of content on LinkedIn each perform well with the right people. When the quality's right, the personal brand's right, the audience is right. Each of them, I've seen every form to date still performing well. It's just about finding what you gel better to. So play around with it. You might do good on video, and that might be the right content form to sort of do more of, but always have a balanced diet of, you know, varying the content you put out there.
Sam,
sorry.
About video, are we doing too many?
The one thing that's definitely happening too much is people doing videos where they just sat in the car. If everyone could just stop that immediately, I'd really appreciate it. There's definitely too much of that on LinkedIn. It's an interesting one. So there's actually no benefit in the algorithm for posting a video. Like you don't get any benefit. I personally tend to stick away from it because I come across as just really awkward. So yeah, it's just find what's comfortable for you, really. But yeah, if you can just all stop filming yourselves sat in your driver's seat, then I think really appreciate it.
What I would just say though, Sam, on that, and you may or may not notice this, Dan, you might have, but just saw Chris Gibbs question this on low quality and being done for the sake of it, right? Obviously, if I watch a video and I feel like she's been done for the sake of it, I get that. But in my own personal opinion, the videos where more in the moment, I've come out of a sales meeting, I've just met someone, I'm at a networking event where I get my phone out and I make a video and I'm just in the moment, it's more authentic, they do better for me. And I guarantee if you were to look at the videos where it does feel like a bit more in the moment, and it just adds to that authenticity, rather than I'm sat here now in this nice sort of frame, and I've got the lighting, I'm gonna have nice loads of the brand and stuff like that. I don't find they do as well compared to the ones which are a bit more in the moment, that might be in my car, but not ideal. But just that's what I would say. If I'm just here on my phone walking and I'm after a sales meeting, they tend to do a bit more.
Yeah, I think the one thing I would add as well is have some fun. Like I put a video out on my LinkedIn a while ago, which some in the office argued it probably wasn't professional enough for the office, but we got work out of it. So basically, we had a new hire. He, on his first day, decided he was the fastest runner in the office. Someone took offence against it, so they had a race in the car park at lunchtime. Filmed it, put it on LinkedIn. And then other offices started sending people down to get their fastest guy to race our fastest guy. And we ended up picking some work up off someone we met from that. So, like, have fun. Like, like, not at the minute, but we all work in office environments which are quite fun. Like, don't be afraid of sharing that. Like, and I think people are, but yeah, because you don't know what's going to come from it.
No, absolutely. I saw that post as well. I certainly wasn't going to take you on in the challenge, so but I did see that. It's quite funny. Someone just put on the chat as well that videos in the car are becoming very partridge, like style. But it's the only place to get away from the kids at the moment. So maybe,
true, yeah.
Maybe that's why. Sam, if you could then kick us off with a bit around engagement, really. So obviously we've talked about like posting and so on. The key here, though, I believe, is getting engagement out of your posts. Any advice or tips you can give to get engagement from social media posts?
Yeah, I think the biggest mistake that people make is not responding to people who've responded to their sort of tweet or LinkedIn post, and just sort of leave the comments. If someone comes back to you, it's just common courtesy, really, to get back in touch with them. And it is time consuming. Personally, I kind of have a couple of periods a day where I'll just go through and each platform and respond to them. It's not like ad hoc, because then I'll remember to do it, basically. But I think with engagement,
hopefully if you get comments.
yeah, it's bad when you don't, and so yeah, just make sure you're getting back to people and following up. I think that personal touch is massively lacking from most people's strategies, and it makes a world of difference.
So keep
I'd say specific to LinkedIn, start a discussion. Trust me, honestly, like, if you start a discussion with your content, so I always do it, and I always get my clients to do it, and it works because it drives the comments. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. What do you think of this? Like, have a call to action, and that call to action should be start a discussion and what do you guys think? And that's going to mean that normally, if it's relevant and it's on point, that Sam Jones, my target audience, is going to have his 2 pence on that, or he's going to want to comment and say, Hishem, that's interesting, this is what I think of it. Prime example, I did a post this week which was about, I had loads of recruiters tell me over the last 2 weeks that they keep having clients tell them that they've got agencies working on jobs at 10%. How do you overcome that objection? That's what my post was about. People keep telling this. How do you overcome this objection? That was the discussion that I started, and then that starts loads of comments. And yeah, super important to go back to your comments when you get them.
Yeah, absolutely. Dan, what would you add? What can we do to increase our engagement?
Yeah, so I agree with Hishem. You know, posts that spark conversation do well, but I wouldn't do that all the time. If you're always asking for something from your audience, they will tire of it. So it's that balance of driving conversation, but giving value as well. So having posts that do just give value, where you share some insight. Maybe you share a success story that one of your customers had. Maybe you share a story of a challenge you had in your past. Maybe just stuff of pure value. So both, I'd say 50-50 of both. Have content going out that is sparking conversation, asking questions. Here are my top 10 tips for sales right now. What would you add to the list? Here are my top 10 sales books of 2020. Which ones have you enjoyed? Which ones have you read? What would you add to this list? But then have stories where you just tell stories. And if you write it in the right way, I mean, it comes down to the quality of the post, how it's presented, how it reads, the value it gives. Good posts will do well. So make sure you're getting the formatting right. Make sure they're stretched out, spaces between all those little details will help drive engagement. If it's big stuffy paragraphs, you may struggle. stretch the posts out, tell good stories, make them valuable, read them, reread them, try and, you know, get the quality bit right, and you'll do well. But yeah, both.
What does that look like then, Dan? Obviously, in terms of LinkedIn, being a LinkedIn master, what should it look like? You know, I know it's easy to say we're going to try and get content. What does the post look like before we post it?
There's kind of three key components. Number one is the title, the first 2 or 3 lines, because that's all that's visible. So when people see it on their feed, they're only going to see the first 2 to 3 lines. They have to open it up to read the rest. You need to hook them in with something quite bold at the start, some big opening statement, some big opening thought. You know, I think I did one at the end of one month where I said, sales managers, it's the last day of the month. Instead of putting pressure on your sales team, why not take it away? ... question mark. And then, you know, bringing people in to sort of think a bit differently about leadership, take them through a journey. So tell a story, again, bullet points, nice, light sentences that sort of take people on the journey. And then at the very end, have a nice, motivating, powerful, thought-provoking or conversation-starting ending. And then, you know, 2 to 3 good, strong hashtags. Tag people in only if it's relevant. Biggest trap I see is you get people so desperate for engagement, they put in 10 to 15 hashtags and they tag in the same 10 to 15 people in every single post they do.
Yeah.
You'll get a short burst of engagement, you know, a bit more than you would normally, but you're just going to be the same pool of people. Only tag when necessary, when it makes sense for the post, and 2 to 3 good hashtags will help it be sort of more searchable on LinkedIn. But that in its sort of format stretched out, you get a 1,300 character limit. Try and use as much of that as possible. If you want any ideas, just pop onto my LinkedIn activity and you get to see it's a template I use for most of my posts.
Brilliant, excellent. Sam, back to you. Engagement and social media. We were briefly talking about it before. Anything else you can share tips-wise?
Yeah, I think for on mine, I tend to ask a lot of questions because that's how you're going to generate the answers. A massive tip for engagement on social media is if you have a dog, post photos of it. Like, I'll do a great blog about marketing and I'll get like 4 or 5 responses. I'll put a picture of the dog up and everyone in the world gets in touch. So yeah, I think it's just try things and find out what worked for you. I think I tend to ask a lot of questions, probably post some stuff which is on the line of like cheekiness, relevance, and that tends to work for me. So yeah.
You've got people going, I love the thing about the dog. What we're going to actually see is LinkedIn explode from pictures of dogs. And we'll have to blame you for that, Sam. But no, excellent, brilliant.
It's better than videos in cars, mate. Like,
absolutely, yeah. No,
it's better than videos in cars.
What about dogs in cars, or is that going to get you know?
I've not seen much of that. I'd probably here for that sort of content. Yeah.
Brilliant, Hishem. How can we get more engagement?
I think they've covered it. I think the most important thing is what you talk about at the end of the day. You can talk about having a headline, a hook. You can talk about sharing a picture of a dog, but it's what you're saying is the most important thing. I think they've covered it. Yeah, you like if you want to format your post correctly, and that's making sure it's there's enough breaks in it. It's not a big clunky paragraph because no one wants to read a big clunky paragraph and it looks horrible. But they've covered it for sure.
Okay, it's interesting now. It's gone dog crazy. Any particular types of dogs? What about the dog with the head out the window? So I mean, it's
sorry about that, mate.
Hashtag dogs of LinkedIn.
Brilliant. Okay, so want to move on to I suppose the big thing is really how we convert our social media post into sales. You know, I suppose really it's all well and good having a good brand, but there's got to be that return. The brand's got to return into cash. So yeah, how do we go about that? Dan, if you want to kick us off, how can we convert social media into sales?
The key is in the conversation. If you want to generate inbound leads, then you need to make sure all of the content you're putting out, your personal brand, shows you as a credible person within your industry and whatever service or product it is you offer. That done right will generate you good inbound leads, which you can then, and as Sam alluded to earlier, you need to make sure your follow-up is good as well, that you are converting those through conversations into phone calls, video calls, emails, face-to-face meetings, you know, whatever. If you want to generate outbound conversations, then you need to dig into the sort of engagement. So look at the people who are clicking like, look at the people who are commenting on your post. If they qualify as a potential prospect, pop them a message. Hi Sam, thanks for clicking like on my post. Really glad you enjoyed it. Love to know what your thoughts are on the subject. Start a conversation with them. It's the same with your profile views. It's the same with the people who share your posts. All that engagement, you can see who does that. And it's a good conversation starter. Use it to start a conversation. Be surprised how many sales opportunities you can generate in it. But there's no sale until you start talking to someone. So it's about turning everything social and digital into real conversations.
Yeah. Well, Hishem, how do we make money from our social media posts?
Yeah. So Dan's sort of touched on both of those there. So yeah, obviously we want people to sort of direct message you and say, been seeing your content, but would love to know how you can help or more about your services or whatever. That's obviously what we want to get. But for me, the biggest impact that I've had, and I know one of the biggest impacts that my clients, recruiters have had, is it equips you with reasons to call people. So I'm just going to use recruitment as the example, but if I want to call a client, if I want to call a candidate, the only reason that I can call them really is I've got this opportunity, and are you hiring? Do you want to have a chat? Right? But when you're creating content and your social media efforts, your branding efforts are driving conversations and people are engaging, and you have people commenting about your dog, you have people commenting about flexible working, wherever it may be, that actually equips you with a new reason to call people and to prospect. So for me, that's how you start making money out of this, is that you, like Dan said, you look at your engagement, your profile views or whatever, and your reason to go out to speak to these people is, hey, look, I just want to give you a quick call. Notice you've been engaging. Firstly, thanks for the support. Really appreciate it. Whilst I have you, are there any topics that you'd love me to cover that you'd find really useful? And by the way, do you know what we do here at Prime? Like for me, it's all about, if it can give you 5, 10, 3 more opportunities to get on the phone and say why you're different, why your product's different, what you do, that's going to drive business and make you cash. Like for me, my biggest challenge when I was in recruitment was getting hold of enough people on the phone that I could help. And your branding efforts can enable you to get on the phone with more of the right people.
Oh, brilliant. Sam, how about yourself? How can we turn social media into sales?
Yeah, that was the perfect answer for me. It's all in the follow-up. Like, we have had issues with kind of clients in the past who are focusing too much on kind of how many likes they've got, how many video views they've got, and not who is watching it, who is liking it, who is engaging it with the content. And it is kind of just looking at all those things and then having those conversations, which Hishem's just mentioned. Yeah.
Question, Sam, I think you'd be really well placed for this one. When you're an MD or running a business, but in a micro, a small SME, you got to do everything, right? We've been there, we know what it's like. Do you have any tips for somebody that is an MD running a business, or how can they get enough time to focus on social media? You know, what advice would you give to someone who's doing everything already?
Yeah, the thing is to do a good LinkedIn post, it takes 5 minutes. It's not massively time consuming. So just do the same time every day. Just kind of make it as part of your day, and kind of try and get into that routine. That's how I tend to do it. I tend to get mine done on the commute. So, and then if anything else happens in the day, I'll say that again.
Oh
yeah, not at the minute. Yeah. But yeah, normally I just do it when I'm on the train basically, and then kind of if anything else pops up in the day, then I kind of have more flexibility with that other content basically.
So basically, you have to make sure you set time every day. It becomes a task. I think the problem is with it is it's probably one of those tasks you know you need to do, but then you're firefighting with everything else that's going on, and before you know it, the last thing you think about is posting on social.
But it is really important. People kind of don't think of the importance of it, but like if you're in any business, you need more sales, you need more leads, and it is a great lead source. So just kind of make it part of your sales routine, basically.
I think what I would just add, if you don't mind, is basically so you have to, as Sam's saying, you have to put it in your diary. You just have to, like, if you deem it as important and you want to do it, then you have to do it, like anything. And what I would do is split up your time to do 2 things. So split up dedicated time to think about what you're going to say, and just have 30 minutes to think about what am I going to create content about, right? And then the other part, separate time you put in your diary, is then actually creating the content. The reason for that is because a lot of people say, right, 4:30 till 5 p.m. on Friday, and I'll create my content for next week. And I'll try and use that time to also come up with the ideas. And what typically happens, you end up hitting your head against the screen and posting about a job or not doing anything at all. You end up answering an email or whatever. So I would just split up the time on actually making time to just think about what you want to create content about. And then actually then when you put time in your diary to create a LinkedIn post, it's way easier because you know what you're creating content about. That's what I'd say, and has helped a lot of my clients.
Cool. There's been so many questions that come in, which is brilliant. So I'm going to try and get through a couple of them, which I think maybe we haven't touched on. One of them is, Dan, I'm going to come to you first of all, is with social media being a long game sometimes, what's the best way to measure your success?
Yeah, so I mean, there are quick wins on social. You will find the needle in the haystack where you get the right person at the right time, they're ready to buy, there's interest, and you get an opportunity. Sometimes it does take time. It's like going to a business networking event. You could be going to a networking group for 6 months, 12 months, 18 months before suddenly you have a conversation with someone and there's an opportunity to work together. In terms of measuring success, I would just keep a track of your general metrics. So how many new followers and connections have you gained that month? How many same metrics you measure for salespeople in general, the same sort of KPIs. How many conversations have you had? How many conversations with prospects? How is your engagement performing? Unfortunately, some of this has to be quite manual, but LinkedIn has its own SSI score, which is quite handy, the social selling index. It's on Sales Navigator, and there is a free link that you can use to gain it if you don't have Sales Navigator, but that will give you a score out of 100, which kind of takes a lot of the data out of your LinkedIn profile and activity and gives you a good indication. You then need to match that with some more manual input, which, like I said, would be conversations had, maybe pipeline opportunities created, new prospects added, things like that. But it will give you a good idea of how you're performing on a monthly basis. I mean, you can check it every day, don't get me wrong, but it will show you the growth of how your personal brand is growing and your use of social is growing.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything you'd add to that, Hishem?
Yeah, I think, so I just break it down with awareness, which is how many profile views, how much my profile views have increased, how many likes, comments, like awareness. But and then you have to measure it. So you're going to have to make the time to jot things down, put it into a spreadsheet or whatever. If that's the source of that particular client or candidate, was it LinkedIn or whatever, you're going to have to do that. You obviously want to do that anyway. But I guess the only thing that I'd add that really helped me when I was in recruitment, when I was getting no likes, when I was getting no comments, but my mindset was, if this helps one person, I'm going to keep on going. Even when no one was listening to my podcast, when I was getting fuck all engagement, was the small wins. What I mean by that is, if I call Neil from Prime and he says, Hishem, I've never spoken to you before, but I've seen your content, that's a small win. Yeah. That's something that I need to take a mental note of. I know people, you may have never liked or commented on my post, but you've seen it. Right, more of the right people are seeing it. So for me, what I'd say, I think it was Carl that sent me that question, is you have to jot stuff down, and you should be anyway, in terms of how you're measuring what you're doing. But really take a mental note of the small wins. If you're calling people, if you're reaching out to people and they say, hey, I do know who you are, Kyle, then make sure you're really taking note of that, and that should drive your motivation.
Well, Sam, one thing, what advice would you give to people who are struggling for inspiration on what content to post on LinkedIn, rather than just standard kind of about the company type things? That's from Chris.
Yeah, I think that's a question we get a lot. I think it's just kind of speak to your customers. What challenges are they facing? Kind of what does your audience want answering from you? Basically, I think through your content, what questions can you be asked, which you get asked by your customers on a regular basis? That's the easiest way of doing it.
Yeah, okay.
Frequently asked questions. And if you're a recruiter, you speak to your target audience. This is just the crazy thing, right? So if you're a recruiter and you're on this, like, call 5 candidates, 5 clients, and ask them the direct question. Look, I want to make sure I play my part during this period. What content would you find really useful or valuable during this period? Ask them that direct question. It's a reason to call them. It's a touch point, and get them to fuel your content ideas. So ask your target audience what they'd find useful, and that's what you should be sharing content about.
Dan, question come in, again specific to LinkedIn, but again, we've gone through, probably getting quite technical now, which is really good, but it was from Shannon asking, when's the best time to post? And I think this is a thing you see quite a lot of conflicting information about.
Yeah, LinkedIn used to be a Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 platform many years ago. That was when people were using it, similar to when decision makers would be at their desk next to their phone. LinkedIn is now a 24/7 platform. People are on it morning, day, night, in between. And what I would recommend when everyone asks, and so many people ask that, what's the best time to post? My advice is don't focus on the time you post, but focus on the quality of the post, because you can post, I could post at any given time in a day, morning, evening, weekend, weekday, and if the post is good, then the engagement will be good. Focus less on the when, but just make the quality of the post good. That's the secret.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just put a link on a really useful article done by Sprout Social on how the engagements change on different platforms because of COVID. That's just worth looking at. But it's what you say is the most important thing. Do that at 12 p.m. on a Sunday, Wednesday at 3 p.m. if you're in your car, no one can see it. But no, yeah, it's what you say. But for me personally, I always try and back to like time and time management, which a lot of people said. I always try and I get it done in the morning. And I share in the morning. That's what I do. And then I've got that done out of the way. I can crack on with everything else. That's what I tend to do, and always tends to be okay.
Brilliant. What type of content would you say works best? I suppose that's quite a tough question to answer. But Dan, anything you can give on that?
Type of content. I mean, again, all content forms do well. And, photos of dogs do well. Videos do well. Posts do well. It's about your audience, who you're trying to reach, and just trying to give value. Value is the key. Most people sharing content on LinkedIn, they're not giving value. They're trying to take value. They're trying to get something back. Take that pressure away, strip that away, and just try and give. Share stories, thoughts, knowledge, insights. If you're giving value, you're on the right step. I think Hishem said it earlier. You need to go in there with a sort of a level of authenticity to want to give value to your prospects, your customers, everyone in your network. If you go out there with that type of mindset, it will be a far better form of content. But if you're going out there with a pressure to hit target, I need to sell something, you're going to start putting out content that wants something back, and you don't see good engagement on that. So go to give, not to take.
Yeah. Question there for you, Sam, is what are the key points you can try to push with your brand? And again, personal or company-wise, really, maybe twofold.
Say that again, mate. You broke up then.
Joe has asked, what are the key points you need to push with your brand?
It depends on the brand, really. So for Tunafish, obviously, we make content for clients, so it's kind of getting that content out where we can put it in the right place to find more stuff. But then we've got like quite a big CSR element, like part of our profits goes to a charity that we love, so trying to get that messaging across. I kind of sit down with businesses and we do a session where we kind of work out what is important to them and what is key to them, and then start building both the personal brand and the company brand out of who they are, basically.
Yeah, cool. Brilliant. Now, we have had so many questions, so apologies that I am not going to be able to answer all of these. It's been an exceptional webinar. I'm sure everyone listening would agree with the value and insight we've given. What I'd like to do, suppose put you on the spot a little bit, is if you could probably just give one tip, just short and sweet, of what somebody could be doing right now to improve their personal brand online in terms of trying to sell more. What would be that one tip? Obviously, I've put you on the spot with that, but we're all into sales. So who wants to kick us off?
I'll go first if you want.
Cheers, Sam.
Mine's just do it. Like, nobody's doing it. Like, you just start doing it and you will see the results, basically.
Just do it.
I love that. Just do it. Yes, it's very true. Couldn't agree more. What did I say?
I was going to say, you agree with Sam because you can't think of one, Hishem, or
I was trying to think. Yeah, I don't know. I think for me, it comes down to just make the time to think about who your content is intended for. As we said, really simply, what makes content good content, or content people engage with it, is content that's made to be relevant. Yeah. So if you make the time to just actually think about who your target audience is, how you want your brand to help you in your sales role, in your recruitment job, how you want it to impact your business, I want it to help you speak to more clients, I want it to help you speak to candidates, whatever, then just think about that first, and think about who your content's intended for. which will help you create content that actually is relevant and will help you cut through the noise.
Yeah, I like
is
that.
what I'd say.
Make time and make sure you know who it's for. Dan,
Yeah.
one bit of advice.
My tips: just be present. If you want to build a personal brand, be present in your industry. Get your name out there. Comment on posts, share posts, but just be present. As Sam said, show up. Just start sharing content. Some of your first posts might not generate great engagement. Don't worry about it. Keep going. Have that authentic approach that you just want to give value. Keep chipping away. It's like climbing a mountain. It's going to be slow at first. It's going to take a while for you to start getting traction, but you need to be consistent. You need to be persistent. Just keep doing it, but be present in your industry. That's how you build a personal brand.
Brilliant. Well, you've heard it here. I think in summary of that, be present, make time, and make sure you know who your content is aimed for. And as Sam said, nice way to end it. Just do it. Really appreciate you guys taking the time out to do this. I hope everybody has found this valuable. I'm sure you have. There's been so many takeaways. I think we could have talked for another hour, if not longer, on this, but we're keeping it to time. So if you found it valuable, please do give us a shout out on LinkedIn. And also, we are going to be hosting episode 9 of the Changing Perception of Sales webinar series next Thursday. So we're back to Thursday at 11 a.m. with a really interesting subject. And this is why is there a lack of female leaders in the sales industry? Interestingly, looking at one of Dan's posts prior to this prep, there was an article where you've taken part away from it that 17% of women make up for sales leadership positions. So although we're seeing more females come into the industry, there's still a lack at the top. So that's what we're going to be discussing next week with some great female leaders who are going to be joining us Thursday at 11 a.m. See Prime's LinkedIn this afternoon for the link to book. Finally, big thank you guys. Hishem, Dan and Sam, you have been awesome. Really appreciated it.
Cheers, mate.
Massive respect for doing this for us. There's been so much insight and value shared. And most of all, thank you to everybody that has tuned in. Keep safe, keep well, and keep changing the perception of sales. See you next week. Cheers.
Hey.